turn them on.
You okay?
Oh, just on the back. It's for the hearing, it's for the hearing, mate.
Red lights on, it's on.
Yeah, they've always been for the hearing. There's a thing on top.
Yes, I know. Most people who don't
Okay. Okay, thank you. Good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's meeting may look very informal, but unfortunately some of our staff are off work due to ill health, so we're really short-staffed at the moment. This month I have attended on Town Council behalf Hyde Speakers Civic Service, Fordwick Civic Service, memorial tree planting at Walmer Castle for our beloved Queen Elizabeth II, Sandwich Arts presentation evening, the Glenelg Guards parade in Hyde, Guild Charter Trustees civic events, and the Deputy Mayor and myself visited the Sandwich Academy and were very impressed with the upgraded facilities for community use. And last but not least, Sandwich Infant School Harvest Festival in St Mary's Church. I think that was my favourite. They're so lovely. On the 11th of November at 11 AM, there'll be a short service at the War Memorial. That's just a reminder, you will be getting other reminders going out. And then Sunday the 13th of November at 11, a wreath laying service. There will not be a church service this year, and I do hope as many councillors as possible will attend both days. Monday the 14th of November is a rescheduled Mayor's Deputy Secretary in the courtroom at 7 PM. So I'd like a little informal discussion in this meeting, once it's all over, just to chat about the concerns I have. Legally required business. Item 2. Approval for apologies for absence. Oh. Yeah, and of course from the CEO, because she's not too good, is she? Okay. Item 3. Declaration of disclosable pecuniary interest and other significant interest.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 15 is regarding Callie's Meadow. I'm the chairman of the Sandwich Community Lights team.
Okay.
What was it for item? I think it's item 11 for Torbridge Fund meeting. I'll be fielding questions for the token ale, but I'll be leaving the room during the discussion and vote.
Okay, Nicholas.
On the same item, I'm a volunteer at the Folk and Ale. I don't know if that's something I need to
You should be fine.
disclose.
Item 4, minutes. 1. To approve the minutes of the quarterly meeting of the Sandwich Town Council held on the 26th of September 2022 and to consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere on this agenda. Attachment 1. So, notice. I noticed on the committees, Sandwich United Charities, it's got Councillor Dore and Councillor Friend. I think Councillor Sampson's on.
I have another small amendment that should be made to that.
Yeah.
It refers to the Sandwich Harbour Heritage Group, which doesn't actually exist anymore. It's now the Sandwich Heritage Harbour, which is a charity, and there's no provision in the charity's constitution for Sandwich to have a representative on it. And in fact, we are not able to do that because there are already 2 councillors on that committee as trustees, and if Councillor Sampson joins as a representative, that would give the town majority on the as a trustee, which we can't do. The charity commission say that the charity has to be independent of its own council.
So you can stand as an you can just join with.
But if Councillor Sampson would like to join the charity as a member, he'd be very welcome.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I've volunteered mainly because I actually love history and Sandwich in general, but I'd be happy to join this as an honorary member.
Thank you.
Okay. What about the Sandwich United Charities? Because that the Council Friend is on it.
Yeah, I can probably help you out on this one. Councillor Friend and Councillor Dore, Richard Dore, were appointed last time,
Yeah,
and that gives them a 4-year term.
yeah,
Councillor Sampson and Mrs Russell
yeah,
were appointed by the council 2 years ago, and
yeah.
they have another 2 years to do.
So, I'll for Councillor French. So these are taking, this is an ongoing thing then, this
Yes,
Councillor
it is.
Todd, Councillor French.
It's-
So we've still got the other two as well. so-
Councillor Friend and Richard Daw are there for another 4 years.
Okay, that's all right. And what's the other one I saw? Oh, Porton Haven. Sandwich Porton Haven Commissioners, we've got Councillor Heaven and Councillor Sylvia Kaya. Didn't she ask to come on?
She did, in the belief that her period was due to come to an end
Ah,
anyway, but now she's reassured
oh, that's all right.
that she in fact wants to remain.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Right, attachment one.
Mr Mayor,
Councillor one.
on the minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just have a few minor amendments or comments which I think are important for the record of these minutes and also for reputational reasons that we have correct minutes. The first one is 70922. Miss Glynn spoke in relation to discrimination, the imbalance of council listening to male voices more. I just think that's not very clear. The English could be better there. 110922 under planning. The first one, the second one, 22000724. Resolution to reject this application. It's not our duty to either reject or approve applications. It's our role to support or object to applications. So the word reject should be changed in that. The next one, underneath that, My Happy Place Cafe, to support this application when road is closed, not only Saturday mornings. Again, I think it's slightly clumsy language and could be made clearer. And then finally, under 180922, the Folk and Ale Festival, councillors received and considered a proposal form, Sandwich Folk and Ale, it just needs to be from. It's just a typo. It'd be great if those changes could be made.
That's on the Folk and Ale one.
Yeah.
This is on the other, this is on the.
Town council one.
It's the town council minutes.
Sorry, yes, so just on the same item, 180922, unless we're talking about a different organisation, we're not the Sandy Witch Folk and Ale Festival, it's just a slight typo with sandwich. So I look forward to meeting these guys and working together.
Okay. Item 2, to approve the minutes of the Heritage and Townscape Committee meeting held on the 12th.
We didn't approve those minutes or vote on them.
I've been all in block. Councillor Lewis.
I was going to say, if we're doing it separately, I recommend approval with the amendments.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just trying to save time, Councillor Carter.
You're the mayor.
Okay. Item 2, to approve, Councillor Anderson.
Yes, I received some draft minutes from the Chief Executive for the Heritage and Townscape meeting, which I chaired, and they needed some considerable changes, which I made as chair, and sent them saying that my iteration was what I expected to see on the agenda for this meeting. And when I came to look at the minutes that are appended to this meeting as attachment 2, they are not actually the minutes as I returned them in my iteration. There are still substantive differences, and I did hope, in fact I asked, that my iteration of these minutes be sent round before today's meeting, so that at least you have the proper minutes, because it is the convention in every organisation that I have ever worked in and where I have chaired. I cannot tell you how many meetings. It is the convention that the chair has the final say in the minutes that come for approval to the committee, and that has not happened in this case. And I think that's very unfortunate. That said, I do want to move on with some of the recommendations, in particular, one in particular, of the committee, which we are bringing to this council. We did recommend at the meeting of my committee, the committee that I chair, that the whole issue of Sandwich waterways be raised at this council meeting. And I see they are not on the agenda, and I think that is very regrettable. So under matters arising from, as it says, any matters arising from these minutes, not or covered elsewhere on the agenda, I'm now raising the question of setting up a working group by this council to look at the whole issue of Sandwich waterways. And I have been talking to a number of people who have a lot of expertise in this area, in particular Stephen Fuller, who I have one of his 3 publications on the waterways in Sandwich, and he and I have had a very long phone conversation, and I've talked to others about the Sandwich waterways, and it seems to me that the way to progress this issue and also look at the whole question of outside funding, because there are bodies around, in particular the Heritage Lottery Fund. And it's very interesting that in my conversation with Stephen Fuller, we talked at length about an application that he is currently drafting with another Kent organisation to get money from the Heritage Lottery Fund to see if we can do something about the Delf. I have to say that having read his publications, I do now realise that organisations and individuals over centuries have been trying, and to a large extent failing, to get the flow of the Delf improved. And clearly there are problems, but they've been exacerbated this century, obviously, by climate change. So I would like to propose that the council, this council meeting tonight, set up a working group to look at the Sandwich motorways. And part of that proposal would be that Councillor Heaven chair that working group. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong man. Councillor Heaven chair that council group, invite other councillors here to be part of that working group, that we engage with Stephen Fuller in that working group and other people in this town and beyond it who take an interest, a particular interest in Sandwich waterways. So that's what I'm proposing. I would like somebody to second it, and then maybe Keith could say something.
I would second that.
Yeah, we would.
I was just going to say, Mr. Mayor, I don't know, could a motion be put whilst we're discussing the approval of the minutes? Because we're actually discussing the approval of the minutes at the moment.
That's what we are, aren't we? Yeah.
Just sort of questioning
Well,
that.
it's a two-edged sword, this new formulation of how we deal with matters arising, because it says to approve the minutes, this is what we're doing, to approve the minutes of the Heritage and Townscape Committee meeting held on the 12th of October 2022, and to consider any matters arising from those minutes covered elsewhere on this agenda. So I think we can do both.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can do both, Councillor Martin. So we've got a proposal about setting up a working group. So are you in favour we set up a working group then? and councillors can get some information.
Are we voting on this separately or?
We're voting on this, setting up this little working group about the Delphi and the
Yeah, I'll
other.
second that.
Everyone in favour of setting up this little group? Working, I think they are in favour of setting it up. Yeah. I don't know, you're going to proceed, but you can set it up and find out and get information back, can't you?
Did that approval for the setting up of the working group approve me as the named chair? I'm the only person on it now, but I was thinking of asking, for example, Councillor Friend, who's got a particular knowledge from his role on Dover District Council, to sit on it as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Right.
Just have one more item, Mr. It say in the meeting, in the minutes for the Heritage and Landscapes, it said that the CEO within the Dover District Council Planning Director or Planning Enforcement Officer to the council meeting to talk about planning enforcement and wider planning issues. I think this is really overdue now, and it was said that there'd be somebody here tonight to talk about that.
I don't know about it tonight, it's they arranged a meeting, didn't they?
Said to council, so could that be taken up and brought to being?
Yeah, we can do that, yeah, but I didn't think necessarily tonight. Let's get in there. One of the panels is on holiday, so.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Sorry to be, I'm not going to be a pain, I'm not going to scream and shout. I'm just going to say, I just think that last voting was a bit unlawful. I think it needs to be clarified with the Chief Executive first before we can vote for something. So at 1 minute we're talking about the minutes, next minute we're voting for a working party. I just think there needs to be some more clarification before we can vote on anything. I just think it's a bit unlawful.
Well, we can clear that with the CEO.
Yes, we can, but I don't think that, that's hence why I didn't vote. That's why
No,
I just think it's a bit unlawful, and I think it needs to be clarified before we can vote for a working group. But I'm all for the waterways, and I'd love to be on the working group, but it's just, I think the law, the legality.
We can ask the CEO tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. As if she's in. Okay. I suppose I should have really done a second bit. Anyway, item 3, to approve the minutes of the planning committee meeting held on the 5th of October 2022 and to consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere on the agenda attachment. 3. Councillor Swanson.
Yeah, so not necessarily a problem with the minutes, just sort of explain myself a little bit. So I was unable to attend. I thought I'd already given it to Councillor Pennington, but that was my error, and of course now it's being discussed at this meeting today, so that's just to apologise.
That's fine. Okay.
Just like to approve the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Second. Councillor Fox.
Happy to second.
Yeah, I was going to do it on block because I've done two on the 3rd, so I was just going to do it all on block. Because I thought it was all going to go straight forward. Item 4. To approve the minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting on the 24th of October 2022 and to consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere on this agenda. Well, are you happy with those minutes?
Approve the minutes.
So we're all in favour of the minutes as correct? And they've been amended? Yeah, okay. Item 5. Item 5, payment schedules. 1, to receive and note the payment schedules for mid-October totaling £25,525.38. Those payments which are not supported by a minute reference number have been authorised by the Chief Executive, Facilities Manager, as they fall within the Officer Delegated Powers to expend at attachment 5. You happy to note?
Yeah.
All in favour of noting these?
Is that attachment 5?
Yeah. Yeah. 2, to receive and approve the schedule of payments of October totaling £16,014.55, attachment 6. Approve?
Recommend approval, Mr. Mayor.
Got a second for that?
Second.
Are we all in favour of that? Thank you. 3, Council to confirm nomination of Councillor Franklin and Councillor Sampson to authorise end of October payment schedules on bank line.
Well, Mr Mayor, I had an item to raise about payment schedules for a member of the public, and I wish to read this out, because there is an ambiguity, serious ambiguity on the payment schedules. It's got here, this was sent to our CEO, dear Amanda Jane. Normally the curfew supper is paid for by Sandwich Town Council, and the current bell ringers pay a £5 contribution towards the cost of meals for any retirees that are attending. This year no retirees attended the dinner, and we were asked by Paul Graham to pay a £10 contribution. He asked for the money without, I'm reading this out verbatim here, without any authority or explanation. The last time I discussed this with the finance officer, she informed me that Sandwich Town Council had not paid for the dinner, and she had no idea who had paid for the dinner. Please can you explain why Sandwich Town Council took £135 contribution out of the funds, and why it has been paid into the Sandwich Town Council general funds? This appears to be a somewhat irregularity. I look forward to your response. If you have returned to work by the 31st of October, perhaps the finance officer could reply on your behalf. And in the accounts it shows that the £135 has actually been taken away from the 420 that was there. So there's two irregularities: that the money was collected in the first place, and then the second irregularity is that it's actually been deducted from the curfew fund balance when it should have been added to it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the finance officer off for the week, she's off poorly, so we won't find out until Monday.
Could I ask you to look into this, because obviously the curfew ringers are out in all weathers and all
We did it
times,
30 years.
and this is the only treat that they get the whole year round. So
I'll find out when it's on Monday.
and you'll raise that and get back to me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Where was we? Council to confirm nomination of authorised signature to authorise mid-November payment schedules on bank line. Did we authorise Councillor Sampson also? Did didn't I? Council to confirm nomination of Councillor Franklin and Councillor Sampson to authorise end of October payments on bank line. Are you happy with that?
Recommend approval.
Okay. For Council to confirm nomination of authorised signatories to authorise mid-November schedule on bank line. Are you in favour of that? Okay. Public participation, 6, public request to speak. I don't think we've got anything. No. 7, report of district council on matters directly related to Sandwich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've only got a couple of items. I've got a larger report I'll circulate to councillors later. Update about the porter cabins. The planning application for the double stacked porter cabins behind Malcolm Waite's petrol station was refused permission a few weeks ago. This weekend the owners complied with the decision and they were removed. We must make it abundantly clear that business and commerce is integral to the sustainability and future of our town and must be encouraged and supported in their endeavours. However, planning applications and modifications must be within the rules, and any transgressions will be enforced as shown. There's been some issues around mosquitoes in the town. I attended a few sessions with the DDC Environmental Protection team across the town to do some testing. Unfortunately, it wasn't at the level required by our licence from Natural England to trigger any pesticide spraying, but it is still being looked into. Some good news today at the Phoenix Centre, soon to be renamed the Jubilee Centre, that the boxing club has got the keys as of this afternoon and are moving in. Wish them all the best of luck with their new home, and thank you to everyone for all the effort and time they put into this project. And the Archers Low Farm, the developers have submitted an appeal against the decision of Dover District Council to refuse planning application. So there is a poster with some important links that I'll circulate to everyone as well. The local plan is out for consultation. The main difference between the Reg 18 status and the Reg 19 status is that the planned housing in Sandwich has been reduced to 227. This is a very important document until 2040. Sets out the vision, strategic objectives and overarching development strategy for the future growth in our district over the period up until then. It's important everyone has their say. There will be a drop-in session in Sandwich at the gallery in the Guildhall on Wednesday the 9th of November between 3 and 7 p.m. And that's it.
Councillor Flynn, did you get any more information about the boundary wall at all?
What's that? Sorry.
The boundary wall boys garage, because I'm really worried because the Cowsley's meadow wants to be used and the it's going to be really impinged.
Yeah. As you know, Mr. Mayor, I did look into that. The first response I had back from the planning officers was that it's permitted development, as the adjacent roadway track is not deemed highway. But I have raised further inquiries and they're still outstanding. But I'll get back to you as soon as I know more.
Thank you. Item 8, report from Councillor Chandler, KCC representative Sandwich. Item 9, updates from councillors on meetings that they have attended as nominated representatives of the council. Note well, further updates can only be noted. Councillor Sampson.
Do you mind if I sit for this, because I've got a
Yeah,
large
sure.
update? So yeah, this is from the Community Christmas Lights Committee. So they're now working hard to get the Christmas lights up around the town over the next few weekends. You'll see people out working.
Yeah.
The Christmas lights tunnel has now been completed at St Peter's, but obviously they're not going to be switched on until after Remembrance has been completed. The planning for the actual main switch-on event is the 3rd of December. It's now in the final stages, all bands, singers, etc. are ready to go. The day's event on the actual day will consist of a small number of stalls in Market Street and a large craft fair in St Peter's Church, a King Street party with Christmas jumper parade, Father Christmas, who's going to be also in his temporary grotto when he visits Sandwich briefly, and the Goats That Dance coffee shop with thanks to Sandwich Rotary Club. The much loved Christmas parade will be taking place with a new route due to the works being carried out on the forecourt just outside. It's going to start at the Quay with the Medieval Centre and make its way to Market Street where the switch on will take place at 7 p.m. It'll be switched on by 4 local heroes from St Peter's Church and the Medieval Trust. The theme of the parade, as you probably guess, is going to be medieval with lights. They've got lantern workshops running and every weekend till the event to make a lantern and take part in the parade with both primary schools taking part as well. Sadly, due to the works being carried out at Gilbert Forecourt, we can't obviously put up the Christmas tree, but to still engage with the theme of that, to be lots of Christmas trees. We're in talks with Archer's Low Nursery and to have a festival of trees, lots of little ones around the town to encourage residents to decorate. There's a poster that's going to be sent to the Chief Exec to be on the town notice boards for details about the lantern workshop and anybody who wants to take part in the parade. We're a group organisation. They are still, however, looking for volunteers. Obviously, we need marshals for the event. So yeah, get in touch with Councillor Marine, the chairman, or via the Facebook page, Sandwich Community Lights. And of course, just to finish off, the committee would like to thank the Torbridge Fund for their support and funding for the event, and the Guildhall staff for their continued support towards the switch on. So yeah, sorry, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. As chairman of the Sandwich Lights, I'd like to invite you to the parade. You and Mayoress as a goodwill gesture, because I know you and the Mayoress quite like it, and you tend to doll yourself up in light. So it'd be an honour to invite you to take part in the parade on the 3rd of December.
I think this is a wonderful event, but I did have this idea, which maybe now is not the point, the time to raise it, but I just wondered if we might involve everybody in the town, particularly this part of the town, in putting lights in their windows and perhaps all switching them on at the same time, and you know, to coincide with this event. I think that would look terrific. It would attract people to the town. I've seen it in Sweden. I saw it happen, and it was amazing. And in a similar small town with a medieval core. And I just wondered if you've ever thought of that, and perhaps you could think about it for next Christmas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, thank you, Councillor Anderson. It's a great idea. I quite like that. Actually, I've never heard that before. But the one volunteers, because we have a very low number of volunteers since COVID. No volunteers has dropped down. He'd have the Advent. There's a team that do the Advent windows for the shops around the town throughout the Christmas period, which is really, really good. We do the the Christmas window competition, but we're not doing that this year due to the fact we haven't got the time to do it. But we can have a conversation after the meeting to discuss what we can do, maybe for next year.
Yeah, as it's a medieval, we'd like to see candles when they were
Yes,
lanterns.
that's
Yes, well, nothing dangerous. In Sweden they have it.
Oh, yes, Councillor Carpenter.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say I attended CALC, Kent Association of Local Councils, and the main aim of the meeting was actually from Karen Sharp, who's the programme director, and quite surprisingly, don't all laugh, there's to be a restructure in the NHS of the East Kent Hospitals Trust. This restructure is to try and draw the resources that they have to over the next 10 to 15 years. There's going to be a massive increase of 65 plus will be growing to 35% of the Kent population by 2036, and they've got to plan for increased hospital attendance. One of the main issues that came out of all this was there's something called a hospital flow, and the problem the hospital flow isn't working is because there isn't enough care homes when people come out of hospital to go into the care homes, and it was noted that care homes have closed down in both Deal and in Sandwich, which has exacerbated the problem. One of the other main issues was to do with workforce and lack of workforce for the Kent Community Health Trust, and there's a new pilot to try and get retirees to rejoin the Kent healthcare profession, and there's also a new scheme to get volunteering program to get people to come back. The other items of interest at the CALC meeting was the Councillor Ben Bano from Deal said that Deal Council were doing a Deal warm welcome, and he said, I don't believe anybody else is doing anything similar, and he said that we're leading the way, so I put him to rights on that and said that Sandwich County Council was actually undertaking a similar scheme. The other items, only a couple, Mr Mayor, was a letter was going to be raised by CALC about the reduction in the bus services. There's quite a large number of bus services that are being taken out, partly funded by KCC, and it's going to cause problems for people in the rural areas. An issue to do with Kent Police are phasing out PCSOs, so your PCSOs being phased out, but they may be bringing in more Kent wardens to take their place, but obviously they won't have powers that PCSOs had. And finally, it was just to say that there was the Dover Quality Bus Partnership is being revamped, so to improve what bus services are left over in the town. So, thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Okay. Did you want to come back, Councillor?
I just wanted to, if you don't mind, Mr.
No,
Mayor,
yeah,
it's
I
about
know
the
it's
lights.
important.
So I said about the medieval, it's going to be a medieval theme. So you've got the Nicholas that's now on the quay.
Yeah.
So the lanterns they're making are of the Nicholas of the boat for the lantern. So yeah, that's what they know. Thank you.
Sandwich and Bloom, I haven't attended a meeting because there hasn't been one. Unfortunately, one member of the committee is extremely unwell. The treasurer wishes to resign, so there'll be no treasurer. And I think Carol George feels a little bit on her own. There are other members of the committee but need more volunteers. So if anybody knows of anyone who might wish to take over as treasurer from Bob Ward, who's retiring after several years of doing it, I'd love to hear from them because they do need some more support. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we help with the watering. The committee members, don't they, with a lot of things.
Yeah, there are plenty of people watering.
Yeah,
The watering is managed, but it's doing the...
Yeah, okay. Even now. Right. Okay. Urgent matters 10, finances 1. To receive and note the Sandwich Town Council statement of accounts as at 30th September 2022, income and expenditure, budget and petty cash, attachment 7A, 7B and 7C.
So, Mr Mayor, this was actually the item that I should have spoken on with the curfew. So, just reiterate, this comes up on 7B and 7C here. 7A and 7B, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, if you give me a little email and I'll go in and see Carolyn Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So, all in favour of this to note this? Okay. Lovely, thank you. Item 11, co-option to council to receive and consider a report from the chief executive regarding a co-option to council together with the advert, application form and co-option policy, attachment 8A, 8B, 8C and 8D.
I only had one comment, Mr. Mayor. It's an ideal thing, I think it should go ahead, it's really good. But with the application form, could we have the actual space allowed for each of the things? It's got a whole page of A4 for hobbies, a whole page of A4 for questions you'd like to ask, and a whole page on skills, which could be a bit off-putting if somebody was a retired school teacher. They might not have a whole page of skills.
Not enough skills.
Well, it's just a bit foreboding to have a whole page of A4. Could it be toned down and reduced?
Councillor Gray first. Councillor Gray.
I was going to ask the chief executive, but unfortunately she's not here tonight.
No.
This document, the council co-option policy.
Yeah.
I was going to ask her whether this is the same document as was approved by the council, I think at the meeting at the end of July. I don't think it is, but I've no way of knowing because I wasn't at the July meeting. I don't have a copy of the July document, and I would like confirmation. And I really want to make an important point here, that too many documents come out of the office with nothing on them in terms of who wrote them, when they were written, whether they've been varied, whether they've been approved by the council. So every time, and there have been various incidents recently when we know documents have changed between what was put before us at one meeting and put before us at another. And the council and the officers must adopt proper procedure to track changing documents with the names of the authors, the date they were written, the date they were approved, who they were approved by, if there are variation, which variation, and if there are variations, they should be track changed and shown to us. Otherwise, we just have to go through every document we receive, line by line, to check they're right. And this can't be correct procedure.
Yeah, it does say at the back that it's written July 2022, doesn't it?
Well, what does that mean? Who wrote it?
Well, I the CEO did, but
Has it been varied? Has it been changed? Has it been approved?
I think it's the same.
Has it been approved by the council? It's
Well, I think it was. That's why.
Well, it should say on the document, so we know what all documents that come out of the office should be properly marked, so we know what they are. Any proper, decent organisation, and other people are nodding their head, I see, produces documents properly organised like that.
Yeah. Well, we can check that tomorrow. Yeah, we can check that tomorrow, Councillor Gray. Okay, I think it's sensible.
Yeah, I have a comment to make which reflects on the discussion that we had when we did actually co-opt our new councillor colleague. Said welcome and I'm very pleased to see. We had a discussion then, as I remember it, about secret ballot. And the ballot paper that we were, the reason we had a discussion was because the original document said that the voting should be by show of hands. And as I remember it, the council decided that that should not be the case, that it should be done by secret ballot. We were then handed a ballot paper on which we had to write our names. And I found this rather surprising, and I couldn't understand it. And in fact, I didn't put my name on. And in the end, we didn't. For some reason, I can't quite remember. We didn't use those ballot papers because that's right. Because the co-option
candidate.
So what I would like, instead of under paragraph 5.4. Where it says councillors will vote for individual candidates by ballot paper, I would like inserted in front of the word ballot, anonymised and numbered ballot paper. In other words, each ballot paper has a number, so whoever is organising the co-option process, presumably the CEO or the clerk of the time, will know that all the ballot papers that he or she numbered 1 to 16 have been returned, but won't know who has voted for whom, because there will be no names on the ballot paper. And that seems to me to be a very simple way of proceeding, which does ensure that it is a secret ballot. So that's what I'm proposing, that in front of the word ballot, under paragraph 5.4, we insert 2 words, anonymised and numbered. And I'd like somebody to second that if possible.
So yeah, I can see where Councillor London's coming from, but I think I made this point at the time when we were last discussing this. We've got to be transparent with the way we vote. And are we actually allowed to do a secret ballot?
Yes, of course. It's been the law since 1872.
Yeah, Mr. Blair, as you recall, on the 31st of August, me and you had a couple of shindigs regarding this item that we've spoken about before. I mentioned that under Section 12A of the Local Government Act, that it's a secret ballot is unlawful. So, and in order for transparency for residents of Sandwich, they would like to know what councillors voted for what person that's been co-opted. That's my opinion, and that's what I've looked into. That's what I said before at the last meeting. Also regarding the date, so the date that's on here as well is the 15th of November. So does that mean that we're going to do the voting on the end of November, the end of November's meeting? Is that correct?
That's if everyone puts a name forward. We can check that with the CEO as well.
Please.
We have a motion. Can we vote on it? We have a motion. Can we vote on it?
Did you get a second to that?
Yes, I did.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, regardless if it's been proposed and seconded, I believe we should check it for the legality of it before we vote on it. So I say that we approve this, but that we approve what's on the agenda, but we wait for the advice of the CEO before we go into any sort of form of voting for the council, for the person for next month's meeting. That's my personal.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we could still vote on the motion, and then it could be checked afterwards. It could be checked afterwards. And for those of us that are long-term members of the council, such as Councillor Graham, Councillor Morehouse and myself, we've always had secret ballots when we were doing things like the mayor and everything else. We used to, in the back room, we used to have a secret ballot, and it was by tradition. So by at least 3 town clerks, previous town clerks, we've had secret ballots. So are we saying all of those are illegal?
I think that was at a council meeting, wasn't it? It wasn't actually a mayor making, because it was just to decide who was going to be the next mayor, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that the person at mayor making would know that they're going to be mayor, and then they can invite their friends. Because it has happened at mayor making before, that someone's had their friends all here, and then someone else has been nominated by mayor on the night, and suddenly they didn't get to become mayor. So that's the idea. That's why they started doing that little balloting. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure Councillor Marie will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the point he's trying to make is that whether we adopt a policy of secret ballots or not, if a member calls for a recorded vote, then it has to be done, whereas the proposed policy is attempting to override the law. It just needs to be worded in such a way that it's a secret ballot unless a recorded vote is asked for.
What is a recorded vote?
Where you vote for or against.
Votes of members are recorded as to who voted what way. That's under Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act.
I think we'll have to check with the CEO, aren't we?
We don't want the same thing that happened on the 31st of August, Mr. Mayor, do we? So, and I did mention the Section or Section 12A of Local Government Act, and I did say that the vote should be done in public. No offence to some councillors here, but the reason why they are here is for transparency for the council. So I believe that it's right that we have the transparency of the council so people know who we're voting for.
We do know who we're voting for.
I think we'll leave that council on just until we get a check from the CEO. Okay. Otherwise it'd be what? Okay. Let's do this tomorrow. Right. So you're happy so we can advertise? Are we going to use this draft or not then, Councillor Gray?
Sorry, what you said?
Well, we're going to advertise this. You're querying whether we should use this draft or not, aren't you, for advertising the post?
I don't know what to say really. I mean, I've made my point of it. All I want to know is whether this document is the one which was approved by the council at the July.
Country Life Councillor Pennington, perhaps you might remember.
Thank you. Yes, I must say, reading this document, it sounds incredibly familiar to me.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we go ahead with this because of the time frame as well, also because we're coming very close to May for the next elections in May. So
we get too close, we don't have to bother, do we?
exactly. So I propose that we carry on with this, and then obviously follow the advice of the CEO regarding the voting rights to the end of the week.
Okay.
Yes, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
So the resolution or the motion that I put up and was seconded has been abandoned. Is that right?
Well, it's pointless doing it if it's not illegal, isn't it?
So we're not going to
We
vote
can't
on
check
it.
the legality because we've got the CEO.
Okay, so we've had, I proposed a motion, it was seconded, we haven't voted on it.
Well, do you want to vote on this motion then, or do you want to just, you can vote for or against, or just say leave it till it's been checked? You want to vote?
I believe, Mr. Mayor, that we should defer that motion until we've had the legalities stuff from the Chief Executive. We're a council, we represent the town, we have to be legal with things, so when the transparency is key to some of the councillors that are here now, so I believe that we should wait until we get the advice from the Chief Executive.
Councillor.
Can we not vote on the motion and make it subject to it being legal? So that
Ratified by the
I've said
CEO.
previously.
Yes.
Yeah.
we've got it in reserve if it's fine.
Yeah.
We don't have to come back.
So we vote on the resolution, as long as it's certified okay by the CEO that it is legal.
Yes. So my motion was that we go ahead with the paperwork and carry on with the time frame.
Yeah.
And then obviously we have another vote for the Councillor Anderson's vote, or what as Councillor Carter's adapted.
Yeah.
So we vote for that if they want to vote for that, and then we can take advice from the CEO whether it's lawful or not.
That's correct.
So
So
what are we voting
The
on
first,
now?
the Councillor Anderson, the first vote is for the to accept this motion.
No.
For the
Normally
co-option.
one takes an amendment first and then one votes on the amended.
Well, all right, Councillor Anderson, are we in favour of secret ballot for the co-option, and then we'll get it ratified by the CEO whether we can do that or not? Okay? So you're in favour? Yeah. You're in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who's against? 1, 2. Oh, I think that's carried, isn't it? I think that's carried.
Yes.
And then we're going to vote for going ahead with this paperwork to advertise the post.
Can I just ask Councillor Marie if he'll accept my amendment, so it's not too off-putting, so it could be adapted, because it's like otherwise you're going to have people who have to write.
They don't have to fill it up, do they?
Well, it just seems pretty poor. Like Councillor Gray was saying, that somebody's put at the top of a page of A4, scribbled on there, put down your skills and left a blank page of A4. It seems pretty poor administration. That's all I'm saying. If it could be amended, it would look a lot better. I mean, the actual this is what I'm talking about. This is a lot better. Whereas somebody, a 5-year-old, has just scribbled at the top of this, put down what skills you've got. It's just not
You want it
acceptable.
modified?
It's not acceptable.
Councillor Murray.
I accept what Councillor Carter's saying. It's a catch-22 because sometimes you can fill that page with a load of jargon of what you've done over the past and the years and stuff. But other times you just write one thing and that's it. So yeah, if you really want that, then we can see if we can adapt it. But yeah, I'll accept the amendment.
I mean, if thank you for that, Councillor Murray. I mean, if you wanted to, you could ask Councillor Pennington because he's recently been through the process and what his opinion was then. But to me, I wouldn't apply. If that was sent to me, I would throw it in the bin.
Councillor Pennington, what do you reckon?
It's dreadful.
Thank you. Yeah, I think firstly, most people will use word processors to complete the form. So the space available will depend on how they do the layout.
Yeah.
Secondly, I took those headings, I think myself, as just the areas which the council is interested in and which in an application I should address without being too specific about how much space I should devote to each item. I took those as points to address, and I sort of put them in my document, but I don't think I pay particular attention to the size of the box.
So basically you printed your own off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I've changed my motion slightly. So my motion is to go ahead with the time frame and the application forms with the help for Councillor Pennington if he accepts to work with the CEO to shorten it a bit and change it slightly, if that's all right. So because he's done it before, so and obviously it's a work he did do his in the word processor because it was all typed. So yeah, that'd be probably a better idea.
Okay, thank you. Are we in favour of that?
I'll second that motion.
We're in favour of that? Okay. Item 12. Disability Access Strategy Working Group Drop Curb. 1. To note response from KCC Highways Improvement Team regarding proposed installation of a drop curb at Ainsley Court on Strand Street, together with a map discussed at previous meeting. Attachment 9. That's just a note. Councillor Anderson.
Yes. I was rather surprised to see this. I'm chair of the Disability Access Strategy Working Group, and I haven't been consulted about this. The drop, we haven't actually been talking very much about a dropped curb. What we've been talking about is a ramp.
Yeah.
And not a pillory gate, which is where the photo has been taken, but an Ives gate, which the directors of Ainsley Court Residence Company, when they first spoke to me, said they thought the Ives gate, it's named Ives Gate, and that pathway is paved in a different kind of paving from the rest of Ainsley Courtyard. That Ives Gate was a public footpath. And if you remember at the last meeting, it was suggested that, that we were proposing a ramp in a private area, namely the courtyard owned by Ainsley Court Residence Company, and that we should ask Ainsley Court Residence Company to fund, or to apply for funding to the tollgate fund, to build a ramp which would come from the key path through Ainsley Courtyard into Strand Street at the Ives Gate entrance, not the Pillory Gate entrance, and the Disability Access Strategy Working Group has always known that's our top priority. Get that ramp built, then think about how we move from Strand Street on the Ainsley Court side into the town, and that might indeed involve a dropped curb, but we haven't actually been talking about a dropped curb, so I was really very confused about this. Also, the map, which indicates the ownership of whether it's KCC or private land or BBC, doesn't actually indicate who owns the key path, and at the moment I don't know, and there's no indication on this map. So, partially as a consequence of this, I think, somewhat muddling report, and partially because we had a meeting of the working group last week, I wrote to the Chief Executive to ask for a meeting with myself and with Carol George and Richard Ralph, who as members of the town team have been very involved with this process of trying to get this round. So I'm hoping that we will get a meeting with the Chief Executive soon. But at the moment, this report does not actually cover the issues that we are concerned with on the working group. So I do find that very strange.
I was looking at the map actually, and when you come up through the alleyway where you want to put a ramp in, there's a footpath right opposite, which comes out by 22 Strand Street, opposite 22 Strand Street. So I don't know why that hasn't been highlighted, because you just come off the quay, up the ramp, straight
Yes,
by the car park.
it's called Ives Gate, that footpath, not Pillory Gate, which is what is
Sure.
featured in the photo. And the pavement is much wider.
Yeah, but then you go
So,
straight up Love
yeah,
Lane.
I just don't understand how this has happened.
No, okay.
And it is a muddle.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I found this totally confusing,
Yeah.
and the pink and blue thing from Kent County Council, the report from Kent County Council, I would get the CEO to send it back and say that they should liaise with Councillor Anderson about what is actually being proposed here, and I think that needs to be done as soon as possible, because the KCC report doesn't help at all. Pink and blue colours, but it doesn't tell you who owns what, or the area where the ramp is going to go.
The area is, there is a path, it's called Ives.
Yes, okay.
And there's a step between the Ainsley Court level and the Green Park. And what we want to do with the consent, and they have given their consent, of the Ainsley Court Residence Company, that we should build a ramp there.
That's indeed,
And of course it will need funding.
yeah,
But
of course.
at the moment, this report absolutely makes no sense.
No. So we need to clarify this report, Mr. Mayor. So we need KCC, I think, online with this so that they can
I think they've
advise
got that wrong footpath.
to say what it is, but
They
they've got
have,
the wrong footpath.
Absolutely.
They've done it from Google Earth, from their offices up in Ashford, where Highways is based. So can we get the CEO to write back to KCC and get this clarified properly so that we can move ahead with this? And once we can move ahead, then we could get some quotes for getting the work done, if that was the disposition of the council to do so.
Actually, I would just say that
That's my
that
proposal.
the CEO should meet with myself, Carol George and Richard Ralph as soon as possible, just to thrash this out, because at the moment we're all talking at cross purposes.
Okay. So that was item one to note the response.
Mr. Mayor, apologies. Councillor Friend.
Councillor Friend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Surely it made much more sense to start re-inviting the Chief Executive to the Disability Access Group meetings to get a first-hand understanding of what the group wishes to proceed with, rather than having a meeting and relaying everything third-hand.
Yeah.
Well, the Chief Executive did come and take the minutes of the Disability Access Working Group, but then she went off sick for 2 months. And I found that I was perfectly capable of taking the minutes myself, which are the minutes that you see here. So, I mean, it seems to me that I can go on taking the minutes, and as and when we need to talk to the Chief Executive about what we want to do. I mean, as I say, this report was totally mystifying. I didn't ask for it. I had no idea it was coming. The first time I saw any of it was on this agenda. And it's just confused things. So if she will agree to meet us, that would be a good idea.
Apologies, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I disagree with Councillor Knox, and I think the Chief Executive should be in the loop with it all the time, regardless of, and their minute taking and stuff. It's filmed for the benefit of the residents as well, so I believe she should be there to yes, definitely.
If she wants to be, she's welcome. But I will continue to take the meeting.
Okay. So where are we now? Item 2, to receive Oh, to note the response, are we happy with approving to note the response, item 1?
No,
Okay.
Mr Mayor, that's what we were saying. We can't note or approve it because it's totally incorrect. It needs to go back to KCC. That was my motion.
You don't
So
want to
this
note
needs
it.
to go back and KCC need to get re-involved with the correct position so that they know what they're talking about and where this ramp's going.
So you want to defer that?
So no, I'm just asking that the CEO gets in touch with KCC, sends this report back and says you've got the totally wrong area and you haven't assisted with this ramp being put into place. So that I was just speaking on item number 1.
Yeah.
So that was all I was saying. That's my motion. Get the report sent back to KCC.
Yeah.
It's not relevant to what we're talking about.
Okay, you're happy with that, Mr. Henry? Say it's not, we've got the wrong footpath.
I think that we'll
Okay.
come back with a model, but I think the best it would be, as I say, is 3 people, including myself, meet the CEO to try and thrash out what we're talking about.
Councillor,
Because
you're
we're not
speaking to me,
going
well,
to-
talk to
Sorry.
Councillor Ward. Okay, move on. 2, to receive, we'll have some more clarification on that. We'll have some more clarification on that. 2, to receive and consider the minutes of Disability Access Strategy Working Group held on the 17th of October 2022. Okay,
Recommend approval, Mr Mayor.
yeah, you're happy, Councillor? All in favour of that? Okay. I'll have to leave this up now. Okay. Item 13. Appointment of councillor to planning committee. To receive a proposal to appoint councillor Pennington to planning committee in place of councillor Sampson. Attachment 11.
Recommend that the approval goes ahead for Councillor Pennington to sit on the planning committee, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Fox. Yeah, Councillor Moran.
I was going to second, but Councillor Fox.
All in favour, Councillor Pennington? Lovely, thank you.
You're phoning the DD up, Councillor.
Item 14, KCC Forward Works Programme. To receive an update from KCC regarding the Forward Works Programme, setting out the renewal and maintenance work over the next 5 years. Attachment 12.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, Mr Mayor, to save a lot of my lovely councillors poring over all these plans and unless they've got any issues to raise, these actually come up at Dover JTB meeting. I read them beforehand and I highlight every item where there's any works that's being undertaken in Sandwich. And on the evening, if I'm not happy with the issue, I will raise an issue about what's happening there. So I do cover this in JTB. So I propose we just note this report.
Go and tell them to turn that machine off.
Yeah.
They're doing the tarmac, aren't they?
I'll throw something at them.
Okay.
As far as it
All happy with that? Okay. Item 15, Cowsley's Meadow. To consider a request from Sandwich Community Christmas Lights Committee to use Cowsley's Meadow for residents, visitors and training department. Attachment 13, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. For me to put this in, I'll leave the room as you vote for it. Just for in clarification, I've asked the council for permission to use Cowley's Meadow for Saturday the 19th of November and Saturday the 3rd of December for the use of car parking. On the 19th of November, the Market Street will be closed for a kick-start to Christmas market that's been run by St Peter's Church. So we are looking for extra parking for the residents. They can park for free for the duration of the day, and also for the 3rd of December for the Christmas light switch on, because the first part of the Guildhall car park will be closed due to a fun fair being there as it is there every year.
Yeah.
And also for residents and businesses to be able to park, and our traders that we're going to be using to park in Cowley's Meadow for the duration of the day.
Yeah, Councillor Mayor, I was just going to say, if that wall's still in place, you might have to have someone actually stood on the pavement as the exit.
Yeah. We are, if we do plan to allow this, we will hire marshals in to run it for the day. Is there any other questions for me?
No, that was the only one I was going to ask, Mr Mayor, because you said the wall's up now. Anybody coming out, it's the pavement, it's very dangerous. But if Councillor Marie is prepared to put a marshal,
I will speak to Kent Security, who we normally use for paid services to us, that we pay for, and they'll be there if
It's mainly exiting.
yes, if it's agreed,
Yeah.
if it's agreed, obviously, but I'll leave it. Thank you.
Like to post.
Okay, do we have a second of it? Councillor Graham, all in favour of it, lovely?
Should we just leave them out?
Yeah.
It's not good.
Didn't get far enough.
If I sneak outside and move work.
Item 16, date of next meeting, Monday the 28th of November at 7 p.m. within the Guildhall. Okay.